socks between friends. Oh boy. Okay. So we said we're not going to try to educate. We're just going to share our sock experience. Yeah, because everybody's different. Everybody's got their things.
Exactly.
So I think we should just say, right now we both prefer toe up.
Yep.
And we're both magic looping right now. That's our
Right.
favorite thing. And there's plenty of tutorials on how to do that. Leslie's got one on the needles she can kind of show.
Yes, so this is what, if you're doing it on just one circ, this is what it looks like. So you have kind of a front and back needle. So half your stitches are on one needle, the other half are on the other needle, and you just kind of go back and forth between those two. I will say when I started socks, I did magic loop. That was how I was taught by Dear Sweet. She taught me how to knit my first pair of socks. And then after that, I went to DPNs and did that for years and loved it. Still love it, but thought to myself, I want to try toe up. And when I try toe up, I'm going to try doing magic loop again. So I did that and loved it. I actually love the look of the toe better than doing Kitchener stitch. If you do cuff down, you really have to close it. Well, there's several ways to close it. One is Kitchener stitch, and you don't have to do the Kitchener stitch when you do toe up. So that's what I'm doing right now is magic loop.
And so here's, I'm sure you know what double point
DPNs.
needles are. And I think when I learned how to knit socks, I learned on DPNs. And I think they're fun.
Yeah, they are fun.
They're pretty, they're fun, they're great. But you get the potential for the ladder between your needles.
Yes.
And I know there's ways around that, but just saying that's, I don't ever get that with magic loop.
Yeah.
I'm slower with DPNs. I wouldn't say I'm like slow, but I knit a lot faster with magic loop.
I would say I don't see the difference.
Okay.
Because I did DPNs for so long that to me it was not even an issue to go from one needle to the next. It was very fluid.
I don't think it's an issue. It's just, to me, if you're only doing it twice, it just seems like, and maybe it's not like if I timed myself, it might be in my head.
That would be interesting.
Kind of like the needle size.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows?
I make stuff up.
Yeah, so for everybody it'd be different. Some people may be slower doing DPNs than they are on circulars, but it just depends. I mean, we'd have to do a time
one thing
test,
I would say that I like better about magic loop is I don't know how many times I've lost a needle.
True, I have done that also. Or it's poked through your bag, or it's done.
Yeah. So, I mean, at least there's that. You don't have to worry about dropping a needle somewhere. I've left them behind places, had to go back for them, panicked.
Yes.
But
that is true.
But they are fun. Like, I think if I'm going to do a sock sometime that I'm not in a hurry, where I'm just going to do them, it might be fun to just stick them back on.
And you get more looks from people when you do DPNs.
That's true.
So that's kind of fun.
If you want to be looked at. If you don't want to, if you want to go more incognito, then just stick with the magic.
But you have also done 2 circs.
Yep, that's another option,
Yes.
is to do, it's the same as the magic loop, but you've got 2 sets of circulars. That's why I have so many size 1 2.25 millimeter needles. Some with, so I like the 32-inch cable when I'm doing magic loop. If you're doing 2 circs, then you want a shorter cable. Not the shortest, because then the needles are shorter and I don't like those. But
and you really do want, haven't we decided we think we like the 32-inch? 40 is a little too long, but you can of course do it with 40 as well. 16's too short.
16's way too short. 24
is almost too short.
Yeah, you're really having to pull that cable all the way.
Yes.
And I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like it either. So this is that 32 or 40?
I think that one might be a 40.
40, yeah. So it's pretty long. So you don't need all this, obviously, but it works for me. But
I do have socks on the needle. I forgot.
Yeah, but I think Michelle definitely prefers the 32, and I like the 32 as well. But to me, it's neither here nor there. But to some people, it matters. You know. But I definitely wouldn't go shorter than a 32. You can, but again, you're just gonna have to try it out and see what works best for you and your fingers and how you knit.
So this is a 32. This is a 32.
Okay.
So yours is definitely a 40.
That's definitely a 40.
And that just has a lot of extra stuff.
Lots of extra stuff going on. Yeah. It is true.
And so right now we both prefer magic loop. That said, the others are fine too. So I'm going to link some different, of course I wrote them down and it's now under all this stuff, but for the toe up, Judy's Magic Cast On, there's a great tutorial by Knit Purl Hunter.
Yep, and we both used that one.
And now I just have notes that remind me of how to do it, and I don't need to watch it. If I were to go a while between knitting socks, I'd have to. It's a good refresher. It is a good refresher. But you just cast on, and then you knit from the toe up. And I have a couple links for, I use the seam-free rounded toe to do my increases, and that's by Lynn Ashton.
And I use the toe up socks with a difference by Wendy D. Johnson. That's what I use. I just use her recipe for my increases. And that's just because that's what I found. And
yeah, now let's see. So if you want to see a difference, this is the one I use. And I mean, can we?
I don't know. Can we do a?
Well, we could take
comparison?
A picture. But yeah, just I think yours is more.
Yep.
You have more of the angle, and mine's more rounded. So it doesn't matter.
That's the thing with socks is there's so many different heels, so many different toes, so many different cuffs. So
everything.
It's like we can only tell you guys so much because it's really been a learning process for us over the years of trying different heels and toes and.
So we're going for what we're trying to tell you, or at least gather a starting point for information, and then people can add to it if they want.
Definitely.
Because we'll just open a thread for this, but it's just somewhere to start. Like you've asked, is there a basic sock pattern? Yeah, I'm sure there is, but I've never used it because we just both have kind of piecemealed together what we do. And
another way, if you're starting out and you're really freaked out about knitting socks, one thing I remember doing years ago when I first started knitting socks was I just knit a baby sock. Because to me that was a way to break down each thing into micro.
That's a good idea.
Sections, because I had a hard time grasping socks. In fact, I went to Joanne Fabrics and took a class on socks because it was like mind-boggling to me. I didn't get the different, what's a cuff, what's the leg, what's the gusset, what are you talking about, turning of the heel, what does that mean? I just didn't get it. I really had to have someone sit down and show me. And so I think a good way to learn, if you want to really break it down and not feel overwhelmed with 64 stitches or however many stitches you will need for your sock, just start with a mini. I mean, I know Carrie was talking on her last podcast about the mini. She knit a mini sock for the
keychain.
For the keychain.
And I need to do that.
And
for my keychain.
You're using all the same gusset, heel turn, flap, all that stuff, but it's on a much smaller scale.
Yeah,
so
it's not as big a commitment.
So that might feel less intimidating and be kind of like a swatch for you.
That's a good idea.
Socks.
The anatomy of a sock, I did find my little keychain.
Yes.
That has the Kitchener stitch on one side, and that's if you knit cuff down. When you get to the toe, that's one way of closing the toe. And then on the other side, it has the anatomy of the sock. So
and that helps.
It does, because I didn't know all this either. You've got your cuff, the leg, heel flap. That's where you turn the heel. This part up here on the top of your foot's the gusset.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Who knows that?
Who knows that, yeah.
And then on the foot part, you've got your foot and your instep. Yeah. So your instep is the top of the foot.
Right.
And then your toe. So I'll add a picture of that.
Yeah, because when you hear knitters talk a lot about the different terminology, if you're not used to it, it's just a foreign language to you.
Yeah, because before you wore socks.
Right, exactly. I never broke down the different sections.
You didn't
of a sock.
care what your gusset was. You didn't even know. I didn't know
I
had a gusset.
I didn't even. Yeah, exactly. Who cares? So it is helpful if you can really break it down and make it as simple as possible.
And then experiment from there. But I am here to tell you, socks are not complicated. Do not be intimidated by them.
Yeah.
As far as needles go, we are both sold on the Hiya Sharps.
Yes, we love them.
We both use the US 2.25 millimeter.
So, which is a size 1.
That's a US size 1. There's 1 and 1.5. 1.5 is the 2.5. We've both used the Chow Goose, the red lace.
Yes.
And those would be my second choice as far as sharpness. I like sharp.
Yes, me too.
Some people don't. Some people swear over the Addies.
Addy turbos.
Hey, if you got them and you
Soft
like
rockets.
them, use them.
Yeah.
They're not as sharp. And if you don't like super sharp, then it's probably a good needle.
But I also, for double points, I love just knit picks. They're wooden ones. Like I like the warmth of them and just how lightweight they are. And so, yeah, it's just whatever you like.
Well, I actually got them a while ago. I got these Chow Goo DPNs, some as short as I could find in metal to do my baby sock for my keychain.
Yeah,
because I didn't want to use big, huge
for such
ones.
a small project.
Yeah. So we were talking before we started recording, like, should we tell you, recommend toe up, cuff down? That's up to you. But I will say with toe up, you have a beautiful toe. I like the toe better than the Kitchener stitch.
Too, yeah.
And you're casting on less stitches. So then you increase. I would rather do that than, because this is something I've struggled with, whether it's a hat or a sock or whatever, when I'm casting on a large number of stitches and then joining in the round, sometimes I twist a stitch. I try really hard not to, but it happens. and then you got to start all over.
Well,
There's no recovering.
Yeah,
from
and I
that.
think it's almost more fiddly, you know?
I think
I
so.
think, especially if you're going to do double pointed needles. I mean, it's definitely to cast on 64 stitches and then divide those evenly between 3 or 4 needles.
Yes.
That kind of blew my mind when I first started.
That can
It
be a
was
pain.
like, how do I work these little needles and get them around?
Totally.
And, I mean, now it's easy, but when I first started, I remember thinking, how is this going to work? And am I twisting it? I don't know. How will I be able to tell?
You don't know until you start knitting.
Yeah, so I feel like toe up is definitely a more, I don't know, it's just not entry level, but I feel like it's less intimidating to start with less stitches and
now,
then increase.
When you watch the tutorial for casting on, you might think that that's, you don't want to do that because it does look
intimidating.
Actually, I mean, it's so much easier.
I think so too.
So I think we're both voting for a toe up cast on.
But practice, because when I first practiced the toe up and I watched that tutorial, it took me several times. I would cast it on. I was like, oh crap, it doesn't look right.
What does my finger do? What does my thumb do? Does the finger go to the top needle or the bottom
needle? Did I already
needle?
do that? I just lost my train of thought.
Yes.
Which one did I go to and so I would rip it out and I'd watch the video again. So don't be discouraged if it takes you 3 or 4 times, 10 times to watch it and to rewatch it. I mean, it's like brioche, we were so intimidated by brioche, and then when we finally sat down and watched the video together, worked through it together, it really wasn't as difficult at all as we thought it would be. So don't let that, if you have to rip it out 5 times, it's okay. You're just learning, so it's good.
I have a thing of notes. So this is it's just funny because I have done a lot of socks. I think Leslie's knit more socks than I have, but I've done a lot.
Yeah.
So on my seam-free rounded toe pattern, I have notes down here for the cast on. Tail is in front and then you twist. Your finger works the bottom needle, your thumb the top, and then you knit through the back a loop on the second needle. And after you watch the tutorial, that'll make sense to you. But I have to refer to that pretty much every time because I don't remember.
No.
It feels natural a certain way, like the way you're supposed to do it. It does feel natural, but that doesn't, I still have to, just to remind myself. So if you find something that you like, take notes.
Well, that's what I think is so fun about socks is that you can be changing it up every pair of socks. You can do a totally different heel. You can do a totally different foot or a totally different
everything.
Everything. So it's very fun. You can do a pattern sock. You can do just a vanilla sock, which vanilla means no pattern, just straight stitching down the foot of the sock. So I think socks are just a fun way to experiment with different techniques.
Yeah, totally, they are. So then you've got your toe. And then you're going to just knit your instep and your foot. And then what heel do you do? Well, we think the Fish Lips Kiss is a great, easy starter. It's a $1 pattern, but we will tell you that it is like a book. There are so many pages because she did a great job explaining all this stuff. Just go to page 9.
Yeah, page 9.
Don't worry about all that other stuff. If you want to read it. But when you're trying to find where to start that heel, you don't need any of that information until you get to page 9. And then just do what it says. And there's tutorials on how to do those boomerang turns or, short row stuff. It's super easy.
It is, yes.
The other one that is really easy is the OMG heel. And I really like that one too. That's another one that you have to purchase. These are both short row heels. You are not picking up stitches. To me, the picking up stitches on the socks, I hated that. When I first, that's how I learned was the, I don't even know what you call that kind of heel.
There's so many different names for.
But I mean, there's like a general term for it, and I don't know what it is. But I hated picking up stitches, and I mean, I still did it. But I was so happy to find heels that you didn't have to pick up stitches. I still will often add after I've done my heel turn, and then you're gonna get it back. I will typically add a stitch or two in between on each side. Yes. Because a lot of times you get a hole.
Right.
Even though you don't mean to, so I just add it. And then if you get a hole, it doesn't matter. Just go back and do some surgery on it. You know, stick a little yarn in there. Exactly. It's no big deal.
Well, and depending on which sock yarn you use to, whether it's self-striping or just a variegated, whatever, that'll depend too on what kind of heel you decide to end up doing.
Well, true.
That some Fish Lips Kiss looks amazing. Sometimes you're like, no, I kind of want an afterthought heel. Oh, maybe I want to. You know.
Well, I mean, but the Fish Lips Kiss heel is good. Well, I mean,
it's good for all of them, but I mean, it's just some you might prefer a nice gusset or a nice, And
I don't know like what all that even entails. To be honest, I don't. This is the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and I did it in a different color.
Yep.
So as I was working up, I just stopped here, put in my new color, and then this is the Fish Lips Kiss heel, just what you see in pink.
Yep.
And then you start working in the round again, and then you go up. As I didn't do these super far up, but you can go up if you've got bigger calves and you need to add in some stitches, add in some stitches.
The other great thing about doing toe up, which we've discussed before, is that you can use all of your yarn. You can really use the whole skein of yarn instead of having, if you want, you know, or if you don't want to, you don't have to. But
yeah, because if you're guessing, do I have enough yarn to finish this?
Yeah.
That's a bad feeling.
Totally.
Yeah, I do, and I think it's easier to do them. I say the right size because they're easier to try on toe up than cuff down.
Definitely.
I should take that advice though, since I continually knit my socks too big.
I try mine on all the time.
I don't, and I really should.
Funny.
We both have these sock rulers,
Yes,
the
love
sock
them.
ruler from thesockruler.com, and you know it is a great tool.
Yes. So I use mine like all the time while I'm knitting these. I will insert it, and I have already marked on here where I start my heel. I just marked it just with a pen. I just pushed down really, really hard. So when I get to about 6.5, 6 3/4, that's when I start my heel. So,
and that's what I'm gonna have to start doing.
Yeah.
I just have to find the right.
yeah.
You know, what's funny is so many of my socks, I used to knit more the right size, and then maybe just messing around with different heels. So keep track, because
Yes.
it totally makes a difference. Like what heel you're doing makes a difference how long you're going to knit before you
Yes.
start that heel.
That's true.
And I guess that's one thing about cuff down is it wouldn't matter as much.
Right.
But
right. And the thing is, don't be discouraged if your first sock is too big or too small. It's a learning. To me, when Dear Sweet taught me how to knit my first sock, she just said, we're going to cast on 64 stitches. Size, I think I did 2 at the time when I first started. Well, over the years, I've become a tighter knitter, looser knitter. So I go down to 1. Would that mean I'm tighter or looser?
I think tighter, but I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, whatever it is. So I've gone down a needle size, but it's, you know, Michelle, we're still trying to figure out how to make our sock fit better and what to tweak and what to decrease or increase. So,
and then try new things. Totally.
And depending if you want a taller sock up your calf, you're going to have to do some increases.
Yeah.
So it's always a learning thing. So you don't just arrive and feel like I can knit perfect socks every single time. It's perfect according to who, you know, it's, you're learning.
And you knit that sock, you're going to be so happy that you knit the sock. It really doesn't matter if it fits.
Right.
You just have a sock.
You can
you hang them on your walls.
That's right. Do whatever.
Yeah.
Use it as a stocking at Christmas time.
Get some nice sock blockers and just hang them around your
decoration.
house.
Yeah.
It is. That's
put it on the back of your couch. You can do that too.
Totally.
Whatever. It don't matter.
I mean, usually we say don't leave your socks laying around, right? But
if they're pretty,
socks, it's totally fine.
We're okay with that. But yeah, I mean, I don't mean to say that as if like don't care, but I mean, I think if you knit a first sock, you will feel more confident to tackle a next one. So don't work yourself up so much to where you feel like I failed. It doesn't even fit. Forget it. I'm never doing socks again.
And
we've all been there.
Use the internet, man. There are so many resources, as you know, because you're watching us, and we're not really a resource,
right?
But you do obviously, you know. Oh, I was wondering why this yarn was hanging out. It's attached to my sock.
Nice.
Yes, you obviously know how to use the computer, or you wouldn't be seeing us.
Right. So YouTube is a huge source. I always tell all my friends that want to learn to knit, go to YouTube, because I can show you or tell you something, but there's a lot of people that are way more talented than I am.
And you can pause.
Yep, and rewind.
You can
go
pause
back
and watch it again, and
I do that all the time.
Supersize it, or you know, whatever. So, and then like, okay, you get up here, you knit up the leg however far you want. This isn't the best example because I did it all in ribbing.
I've got my cuff.
Okay.
But
normally,
it, though.
you would either do your pattern or just stockinette. And then the last, couple inches, you would start doing ribbing.
Yep. Yeah, and I think mine's about 2 inches. But I mean, again, with your ribbing, your cuff, it can be as
whatever you want,
big, whatever as you want. So a lot of it's just depending on what you choose to do. I do about 2 inches. I try to. But a lot of times I'll do knit 2, purl 2, knit 1, purl 1 for my ribbing. This one was knit 3, purl 1. So, lots of options for your cuff as well.
If you decide that you want to knit socks, this book, the Sock Knitter's Handbook, is a great. I mean, there's so many books too.
Mhm.
I mean, I can understand why you're asking because it's
Totally.
like there's so many things out there.
There's a ton
This
of
is a
information.
great book. It's got different heels, different toes, different bind offs for toe up, different cast ons for cuff down, and that, I mean, it's just a really good book.
Yeah.
While I use the internet for 90% of my information, a book is good to have sometimes.
Definitely. Sometimes
So
it's good to see a picture or
Mhm.
just to, I think also just for options, you know, like you're saying,
Yeah.
like to be able to go to one source and find 3 different heels, 3 different, instead of having to search the
because
internet.
a lot of times you don't even know
Yeah.
what it's called, so you don't even know
Exactly.
how.
What to look for.
Well, how to, yeah. So
Mhm.
this is kind of funny. On our episode that we just did, if you watched it, I talked about this sock. I decided to do the Pico bind off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the book, and maybe I'll snap a picture of it, but look at that.
Yeah.
My bind off does not look like that.
Looks similar, I think.
Well, mine is so
Fluffy. Well, they might have
frilly.
stretched that out, I wonder, just for a picture. It almost looks more like that.
I
Super
know,
stretchy bind off.
right? So I did not
Yeah.
mean it to be this way. So, whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah. So we're using this as a way to gather some resources for you because we know there's so many choices out there.
Yeah.
But then, just use those resources and
Definitely.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask. I don't know if we'll be able to answer them, but we'll try.
Yeah, someone will.
Someone will.
But, yeah.
Someone more.
We don't even know if this is at all helpful to you. But what it did was it kept our episode a little bit shorter, so
Yes.
hopefully it will upload faster. Because did
Let's
I get
hope
to that
so.
9 hours? Did I mention
Yes. 9 hours
Um,
and several days.
Several
Yes.
days.
Yes.
that? Yeah, so anyhow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, if that hopefully helps you, tells you something. But
Even if it's just a smidge of information that
right.
helped.
It was just too much to type.
That's right. Yes. Oh, yeah. way
and
too
I will.
much.
I'll open an additional thread, and I will have the links for some of this stuff, and encourage if
Other
you're watching
feedback.
this and you either have further questions or you've got some feedback to help someone. Put it out there.
Put it out there. If you have a favorite sock pattern or a first time sock pattern that you used,
I love
share
your
that.
idea though, doing a baby or even a child's
Yeah.
sock, just because then you're not invested in
well, you don't feel as bad if you have to rip it all out. You
Yeah.
know, you don't feel as invested in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And if you end up knitting it, you'll feel great, and it'll be a cute little ornament or something.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Use it to give a gift card.
That's right. Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfect for that. I
It
did
would
that
be
one year.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so that's it from us.
Mhm.
We think,
Yep. I
Yep,
think so.
there we go.
I think so.
and then you can start buying all that sock yarn.
Oh boy, that's a rabbit hole.
It is a rabbit hole. So anyway, all right. We hope we helped.
Yes.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. See how many times it takes us. Oh no.
Oh.